you know? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a special press conference this morning. And before we begin, we would like to start with an opening prayer by Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry, can you come forward? Thank you.
Morning once again. At this time, let's bow our head in prayer. Almighty and everlasting God, you who speak life into existence, you are the maker of all things. And this morning, oh God, we thank you for life in itself. At this time, oh God, I'm taking this opportunity, oh God, to ask your blessing and one who is offering herself for service in our little nation, Tortola BVI. This morning, God, I'm asking you, God, to give her wisdom and understanding as she try to put forth her best foot in this arena. You know, God, you've called many to service. Just like you did when you called Moses to deliver the children of Israel. This morning, Lord, I'm asking your blessing upon Perline as she steps into the political arena. May you guide her, give her wisdom so she can discern and understand. Help her, oh God, as she work with the people of the BVI. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. A well-said prayer. Just as we are now to announce that Miss Perline Scatliffe Leonard has a special announcement for us, the people of the 7th District. Let's welcome her.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's certainly my pleasure and indeed an honor to be sitting here this morning to say a few words to you and to, as Ms. Potter said, to announce to you, the 7th District, and the people of the BVI, what my intentions are. It has been a long road. We have been, for a number of years now, trying to get Perline on the scene that I'm about to place myself on. I am very passionate about our BVI. I am very passionate about nation building. My passion is big. So there's no doubt that what I intend to do is something that I know God is leading me to. I am very spiritual, I'm very spiritual. Whatever I do, I take it to the knees to make sure that my spirit is alive and my spirit feels calm with what I'm about to do. So I am pleased and I am calm, I am comfortable, and I am assured that this is what I need to do at this time, in this moment, in this era. I've been working with the civil service for 33 years. So last month, January 19th, 2023 would have been my 33rd year. So I have given much of my time, much of my years to the public service, and I have no regrets. I've seen everything. I've been through the thick and the thin. I've seen the pretty and the ugly. So I know I'm well prepared for what I'm about to do. When I got into the public service in 1990, I met with managers and permanent secretaries who I came up under, permanent secretaries who work with integrity. They work with policies. They ensure that whatever was done within policies and regulations. So you could understand how some people would call it a stiff jacket I am for policies and procedures, but there are things that would, guide us and keep us together, keep us in line with what ought to be for the betterment of this territory. And so, ladies and gentlemen, given my experience, given my knowledge, given my know-how, and given my passion to serve the people of my district, the community that raised me, District 7, and by extension, District 8, because we are like sisters here, District 7 and 8, but more so District 7, I have made a decision, having spoken with families and friends and colleagues, that it is time for me to offer myself as a candidate for the 7th electoral district. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we are today. I sincerely hope that the people of District 7, over the course of the coming weeks, would accept me into their homes. I'm coming. So I am going to do my very best to answer all the questions that are out there. I know there are many questions, and I am prepared to answer them, honestly answer them, because that's who I am. Anybody who knows Perline knows that I'm straightforward, and sometimes, the straightforward is some person's own life. But I always say that once you are straightforward and you're honest with that straightforward thinking or mannerism, things work out. Things may not work out in the beginning, but certainly somewhere along the line, or certainly at the very end of the line, everything will be good. So that is my mantra. Work with integrity, work with honesty, work with transparency, and hence why I actually had done a certification in governance and accountability, so that you get a greater understanding of what's expected of you. Because sometimes persons don't understand, what's expected of you when you say governance. And so I would make sure that all this knowledge and all this experience that I have is filtered through our next House of Assembly, filtered through our territory, so that we can get it to the place where it needs to be. Thank you.
Awesome. And us in the 7th district, we don't waste time. So we'll get right to the matter at hand. Now the floor is open for questions. Media personnel, you will be limited to a few questions, but the floor is now open. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Scatliffe, Leonard,
Yes.
Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for inviting us here, and congratulations to you on this very big move.
Yeah.
I would have asked you this question in a private setting prior to today, but I'm going to ask it to you now publicly. Why have you chosen to go as an independent candidate as opposed to running with some of the well-established political parties, or if there is one that is forming, why not? Why go independent?
When I look at the situation, I've worked under both parties. As I said, I've been in the service since 1990. And the two established parties we are speaking of would be our National Democratic Party and the Virgin Islands Party. My experience with both parties is that we have good men and women in both of them. We get along well in both of them, for myself and the parties that exist. What I find, though, is that usually when you conform to party politics in this era, because I want to go back to the era where Terence Letson, my mentor, where he served, and he was in a party, he was in the Virgin Islands Party. In fact, Mr. Letson, when I was in my teens, he came to my grandmother's house and captured me from there for the youth arm of the Virgin Islands Party. So I've been around, with that particular party, especially. Over the years, though, I've seen where the parties have transformed. And as an independent candidate with certain, what I want to say, certain make up my integrity, my need to speak up when something is not in order. I find that with the party system now, persons are holding back to speak on behalf of the people. And I'll go back to Honorable T.B. Lettsome. I remember while he was in the House of Assembly, and he was on the government side, and anything that was being done within that party that he didn't like or he didn't agree with, he would stand up. He would stand up and speak on behalf of the people, of his district and of the territory. And that's the kind of representation we need in the BVI. You know, we speak about self-determination, we speak about independence, but until we reach to that maturity, we need to weigh our options. We need to ensure that individuals who would accept, whether you agree with me or not on a matter, that I would not put you on the side or I would not ignore you. For a matter of fact, we want to make sure that your voice matters. We want to make sure that we are not putting a claim on you in the event that we do not agree with you. Because I frankly believe that I love persons who do not agree with me, actually, because with doing so, you capture a lot of the energies that you would miss along the way because everybody else is in agreement with you. When you have difference of opinion, you actually go further with what you're doing. So that is my reasoning. My independence does that mean when we get to the House of Assembly, I'm not working with anyone. Because my goal is to make sure, and if it needs to be that I'm the bridge, if it needs to be, showing that we can actually work together even though we are in different parties or we are independent. In fact, when the election day is done, it's done. 13 of us representing the BVI, and that's it. Party politics is done. That's how I see it overall.
Okay, for a very long time, the people of the 7th District have been expressing the feeling that enough is not being done for the district. Now, should you win their vote and you enter the House of Assembly, to some extent you are still limited in bringing out that voice that you speak of, that ability to represent at the highest level for them, because it means that you will be on the opposition side. If you're to be with a party, should a party wins, you are on the government side, though it may or may not be that you are in a backbench or a front bench, but being with a party seems to give you a better leverage at stronger representation. Do you agree or not with me?
Well, I don't agree with that, actually. My 33 years of service tells me very much that I don't agree with you. What persons do not understand, and I think we have failed to educate our public when it comes to our budget. Our budget is what we need to be looking at. We have, for instance, and I'm going to come closer home to me because we have issues with our sewage and issues with our water. Those are national budgets. That's a responsibility of all 13 members, not only the district representative. Of course, the district representative is going to push. Once the push is there, then they will get a lot of push here. Because this representative knows what needs to be done. She knows the plan. She knows what needs to be there to get it done. And so that energy will be there to get it done. It's no need to go to ex-engineers and administrators again about this. We need to get it done. It's going to be done. When it comes to the district, we have budgets specific to each district. So those funds are separate. So when you need to, we have beautification projects to do, we have certain uplifting projects to do within our community, the money is there. Once you know where to touch it and where to go, there ain't gonna be no stopping this representative for the 7th district. I know what to do.
Okay.
That's the
finally
difference.
from me for this moment. How active have you been in District 7 prior to deciding to run for government? How visible are you to them, and to what level you're safely can say that you have been representing for them, pouncing on whoever is the district representative and the at-large representatives responsible for the district?
Ready. So my work in the 7th district, and by extension the 8th district, started with the festival committee. From a teenager, so I work with individuals such as Gateman. Everybody remember Sammy? I work with persons such as Cobbett Wheatley. So those were my daddies. I was a baby in the group, and I enjoyed it because I learned a lot. I worked the festival committee with a culture, and everybody knows I'm into my culture. So it didn't just start, it started from back then with these older folks teaching you and speaking with you about what used to be and what we need to do, etc. So I'm very passionate about that. I remember, I think it was in 2015 or 2014, when an attempt was made to discontinue a parade in East End. And I jumped in without hesitation, letting them know, no, this won't happen. Because we in the eastern end of the island, we always had this a celebration, and I did not see where it was necessary or that we were no less than any other area where we couldn't keep our festivities, but let's do that a bit different. Let's do it more cultural. In 2019, again, an attempt was made, and I jumped in again. And I think I have one or two reporters in here who were on the road with me. And we did that work in 3 weeks. We put that parade together in 3 weeks because I was adamant, do not touch the parade. Let's do something different in the district, in the two communities, something more cultural, so that we would have that celebration maintained in this area. And so it's something that I am going to be pushing and dedicating myself more, because what persons do not understand is that when you talk about building a nation, you cannot build a nation without an identity. You have to have an identity. And unless you understand your culture and build on it towards that goal, then how do you build a nation? The children must understand where they come from. So my passion is so big, and Kathy knows this, and everybody who knows me, and Melissa, my passion is so big about culture and where that has to fit in with nation building. That persons who would want to would understand, they'll come up very big against Perline. It needs to stay, and we need to ensure that we get the culture and the heritage more included in our educational system. I don't think that August and February of each year is enough. We need to make sure that our curriculum includes it. So you will know that I will be a big pusher for that as well. And I'm hoping that those under my ears, educators and the principals especially would fight along with me to make sure that that's done, because it's important. Okay, we cannot build a nation again without a culture, without an identity.
And before the number two, I just want to say she's being very modest, As Kathy, in 2022, she was my big pusher for the festival celebration that we had going down the road. And she insisted, you must go through the 7th. I said, that's too long, I'm going to fall down. She said, no, you have to find a way. It's no way this parade can go on, because that was the original route. And I'm proud of a person like her who helped to carry the weight. I wouldn't speak against the present representative who did not give the support, but definitely this young lady stood in the gap, and I'm proud of her. Next reporter.
Thank you, Ms. Potter.
Good morning, Chevin Dash, 284 Media.
Yes.
First question, what sets you apart from not just the current representation in the 7th, but the others who will be vying to run in the 7th district?
When you set about to representing people, you have to be open, you have to be transparent, honest, integrity, and you have to understand governance and accountability to the T. While I may want to share examples, I think I would tread a bit, lightly on that. I stand on those principles, and everyone who is contesting must deliver themselves, accordingly. I think the people of the 7th district, this district is where I grew up. This is the district that raised me. They know my potential and they know my character. And they know that when I say that I am going to get it done, Pauline ain't find a way. So I'm not going to make a comparison between myself and my colleagues who are also contesting the seat, but I'm going to leave it for the district to do the analysis after they've heard each and every one of us and make the decision. The decision is theirs. So in terms of, I'm not going to do it. My apology, I'm not going to do that comparison. Tell you about myself. I'm going to put it on the table that District 7 knows me down to Sophie Bay. I've walked all these streets. I've been frequent at the water hole in Fairfax Bay. When Mommy couldn't, Granny couldn't find me, that's where I was, in Fairfax Bay water hole swimming with everybody else. So I'm not at all too excited about, comparing myself with others, but delivering myself and ensuring that delivery is all about Pauline, because I believe if I deliver myself in a fake way, 7th district I know, that's not Pauline. Already, they know me. So that's my strength, and I'm going to do what I have to do, speak with them and see where they go. They have to make a decision, whether they want to continue or whether they want somebody who they know is going to push for them. Thank you.
One more question. Once you're elected, if all goes well in your candidacy and you're the vie for the 7th, what would be one of the most important things you would want to get done in the 7th or have done in the 7th?
Well, there's so much to do because there's so much that hasn't been done. That's the situation here. As in my former role, Director, Water and Sewage Department, and I know we have that burning issue, and I said to my team one time, I don't even know how to come to the 7th district and speak to them about something that's lingering for 24 plus years. That's a very long time. But from my former position, I can tell you that, the plans are there. The plans are there, and let's put the plans to work. That's where we are going. You have to, but to put the plans to work, you have to make sure that the resources are there. And as director, they would say, well, you are getting resources. My answer to that would be, resources are given in various ways, and certainly wasn't given in a way for the establishment or the development of the sewage and the water systems in the district. Those resources are given to ministries. And I always like to either use the teacher analogy or use the contractor one, where you could be the best contractor in this territory, building homes and what have you. But if you do not have the resources to build a house you're trying to put up there, a nice big house you're trying to put up there, you ain't going nowhere. So that has been my experience at the department, resources. And I'm hopeful that once we speak the truth to the people, what's happening underground, that legislators, all 13 of us, when you send us to the House of Assembly, that we are going to make sure every district in this territory, because what we don't understand is that when you develop one district, it's not helping build a nation. If you have sewage affecting Eastern Landlook, and you have it in Rural Town, you have it in King Garden Bay, I think it is, let's address all three together. Let's deal with it as a government. We have water issues throughout the territory. Don't just deal with one area because. Let's deal with all the areas because we notice that we are wasting money, and this is money that could be used elsewhere within the territory to the betterment of this country. So that's my position on that whole thing. All 13 minutes. When it's all done and said on election day, 13 members to the House of Assembly working towards the benefit of our territory.
Hearing it there, folks, she's saying she wasn't successful on the other end because of lack of resources, but as a representative in her territory, standing in the House of Assembly on behalf of the territory, things will change for the better. You heard it here first. Next reporter, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Cindy Roseanne, Guavaberry Media. I have a few questions.
All right.
My first question is this. Even as a reporter, I'm a 7th District constituent. So I would like to know, we've had 20 years under Dr. Pickering. We've had, by the time election comes around, well, we can say we've had 4 years under the present rep. The district is really left behind. Like the 7th District is left behind, totally forgotten. We've gotten a lot of promises. Again, we've given Dr. Pickering 20 years in, out, promise next time. The now sitting rep, he made a statement the other day that he has unfinished business with the district that he'll do in his next term. Why should we trust you?
That's a good question, because, and this is why I said to, friends, close friends, and family too, what would I be telling 7th District? The same thing over and over and over again. The same thing I am coming to say. How should they deal with that? I am going to rely on my district, my people's knowledge of Perline. When I say I'm going to get it done, I push in to get it done. That's how I am. When I can't get it done, I am coming back to say why, when, and how we moving forward. That's how they know Perline to be. Straightforward. We at a point in our history when the Virgin Islands were promises with our sewage, and I don't want to say much because it's my prior capacity, and I don't want to appear as if I'm bringing information or whatever, but I think the territory needs to know that our sewage and water infrastructures are in grave need of reconstruction. If we continue to lose 15 million, $20 million per annum in water that we're not using, that's being wasted, because we all see the water, we all hear the outages, we all hear what's going on. If we continue to bat our eyes or keep our eyes closed to getting those issues fixed, it's no longer a Sickles Bay or Western or Eastern area. This issue is impacting our tax dollars. So that's how critical this is. So, and in fixing them, Eastern and Longlook won't be left out. I'm going to say Eastern too, because what impacts Longlook impacts Eastern, because the water passes through Longlook district to get to East End. So I am going to, and I'm sure whoever the East End community, the district communities chose to be their representative, me and that individual will be hand in hand with 4 at-large representatives fighting to get this done. That's not a question.
So I see you're passionate about water and sewage, and I'm going to ask you the big question. It's like, it's a trying thing for the BVI. Water and sewage has been going on for decades. It's been a political football. You've been the director of water and sewage for how long?
10 years, December past.
10 years. And so one of the questions or the biggest things, and I'm asking you this because we have serious water and sewage issues in the Eastern District, but across the territory.
Yeah.
People look at it in a way that you have failed at that. So how can you run a district, is the question. You've spoken to your years inside of the civil service. So I would automatically think there are things that maybe you can't reveal, but how do you bring that perceived failure, or do you consider it a failure on yourself, but how do you bring that perceived failure to the seat where you're about to run in to say that you will be successful there if there's a perceived failure in your leadership there?
Yeah. And again, as I've said to my team and my family, I say it's a fair question. I'm there. I was there. And I'm going to go back to my contractor. In order to build a house, you have to have the resources to build that house. I would have loved for resources to have been provided to the Water and Sewage Department, while I was director, to solve the problems that exist in the field. I would have loved it. Because that's who I am. I like to fix things. But at the end of the day, the policymakers are the ones who decide what's priority for them. And so I fall in line. It's sort of I do not want to cast blame on anyone in particular, but certainly I'm not going to let my performance fall either. I've accomplished much in the Water and Sewage Department, but has been done. I'm a person who doesn't brag or bring things out to public like that, but certainly because of what's said or whatever, those accomplishments will be made public. Because I think it's necessary for people to understand that I wasn't in there just sitting. I wasn't in there just sitting. I was writing, I was in meetings, speaking about things, emailing. So the records are there with what I was trying to do, the recommendations I made. And I can bring you back to some of them. In my initial stages in 2014, because in 2013 I was just getting my feet wet, so I was getting accustomed to the department and knowing what's going on, seeing what's going on in the field and so forth. And in those times, it's skirt and dress. And skirt and dresses, I was out in the field late at night trying to learn what was going on in the field, because you have to have an appreciation for what you're managing. Even if you don't do it yourself, you have to understand it. I'm very passionate about making sure that that happens with me, knowing what's happening. And so I was in the field a lot. So then I realized that, okay, in the eastern end of the area of the island, from Beef Island Bridge down, straight down to Paraquita Bay, we are up there often. We have another spot in Lambert. We have another area in Seacles. We have 2 areas in Seacles Bay. Western has one on the flat going on into Western. So it's not a lack of not knowing what was going on or where the issues are. It was an issue of resources and funding. Alrighty? Water and Sewage Department, once you are a manager and have a business type thinking level head, you can manage it. You don't need to be a technical person. Once you understand and once you respect the engineers for what they do, you can run Water and Sewage Department. I had no fear with it. And another thing I must say, because I was a human resources manager for Water and Sewage Department before I went to that department. as I was for public works and facilities and fire and some of the bigger agencies. So I knew the department well. So there was no fear going over. But one thing I did before I went, I checked all over in the region to see if they had any other women directors for water and sewage. I was inquisitive about it. So I checked. I checked. I found no one at the time. But I was happy still to go and try and help the situation. As I said before, I love to fix things. I don't brag about fixing them, but I love to fix things. This is my DNA somehow. The situation here at the Eastern, I'm going to speak a lot about Eastern London because this is where I'm at. You know, we had the road cut in from Beef Island straight down to Paraquita Bay. And it's only to open up the road and put pipes in it. So again, what was lacking on the department side, and I remind the public that when you see big projects happening in this territory, the departments are not the one with the funds, it's the ministries. What the department, water and sewage department would have is enough funds to repair and maintain, and that's why we're always fixing pipes. We don't do nothing else. Repair and maintain. So you repair your pump station, or you maintain them. You maintain your valves and so forth, and that's it. That's all we do.
So am I understanding that the ministry is the level at which the territory is failing the territory in the water and sewage debacle?
Whatever is needed with regards to funding and resources for those capital projects would come between the ministry and the policymakers.
The policymakers, the government. Mm. Thank you. We're in the climate of the COI, those ramifications or relationship with the UK, the order in council over our head. How do you feel about that? What is your position on that? And how do you intend to, because there are recommendations in place that the now sitting unity government has to tackle for the next 2 years. Well, I think there's 1 more year left on that. If you're to come in, you'll be coming in with that in place and on the table for you to move forward. How do you feel about the entire situation?
Process?
Yes.
And I don't want the people of this territory to feel for UK or COI or anything, but I must be truthful in this regard, because at the same time, we want to make sure that the UK and whatever COI we had understand that we have capable people in this territory to run our territory. That's first off the bat, so I'm right there as well. I find, and it's a discussion I had even before I was retired from the service, I said to a manager that the things that we found ourselves in are things that we had policies for. We had policies for, we had procedures for. And it was, and these are the same policies and procedures we followed from my 1990s time. They're there. And if we want to ensure that we are relieved of this COI recommended constitution being pulled, we have to approach it with level heads. We have to approach it diplomatically and with some respect. We have to ensure that whatever we do it showing persons not in conformity with what we stand for, that we are respectful people. While we are respectful people, we do not sit back and allow us to be taken advantage of. But we have to deal with this diplomatically and respectfully. That's my only issue with that part of it, just the respectful and the diplomatic part. And that, like I said, that is not to say that you sit back, because standing up and screaming and not getting anywhere doesn't help either. We have to show the UK and show the governor that we are capable. We have capable minds. I'm watching capable minds right now. As a matter of fact, we have persons who can run this country. And we need to make sure that we put individuals in place to make sure that they put forward themselves to let them know, no, we are here. And we need some type of leverage in our own country. We need to make sure that whatever we are doing, whatever we are implementing fits into a culture. A culture builds a nation. We cannot adopt things that do not fit into a culture. So that's where we need to go.
I have one final question. It might come off as two. I'm going to go back to the district, but I'm going to ask you something that leads into my final question. The district is wanting and needing. What would be your first priority should you win the 7th district? And how do you feel about public-private partnerships, understanding that the government budget cannot do everything?
I grew up in the 7th district, and I walked this district for years bare feet. I can't do so anymore. Our district needs cleaning up. We have a program where our tourists had bust into District 7, and the condition of our district isn't the best that it needs to be. I also have difficulty when we do not look at the well-being of our children. When I see children walk in the streets, young boys especially, walk in the street with nothing to do, and sometimes, just sitting on a corner where they are, my mind flashes to things that I don't want it to be. We need to develop programs within our community that would keep the young boys focused. And as I was saying to an individual not too long ago, sports is very much needed in our district. I remember when I was younger, very much younger, we started and I'm just using this as an example, we had a T-ball team from the East. We got Penn and some of the other guys who played with us. And that it kept them together. It provides discipline, teamwork, thank you, no, you're helping each other. So it provides that environment of caring for each other. So you'll find, I know one of the constituents of the 7th district has been behind me a little while to resume that league. So you'll find that along with District 8, because we pull in District 8 with us, we are going to utilize Greenland Field a lot. We need to utilize it. Clean up the district. We actually started some work by the TB Letsam. I had a problem. I had a great difficulty just going to church at the Long Methodist Church and looking down to Mr. Letsam's property and how much trees and bush were overgrown. So we were able to, as a committee, gather ourselves and some private individuals who loaned us their equipment, the trucks and what have you, and we came and we cleaned up that whole area, the graveyard area, the parking area. And so we are intended to make sure to keep those areas clean. We do have portraits of our leaders in the area. We want to make sure to tidy them up, because I don't like how they look either. We need to tidy them up, reframe them, and keep it so. You don't build something, it's just something similar to when we build our house and we don't maintain it. We need to make sure that the areas where a garbage bin are, I have a problem with that. As a child, we never had that problem. I mean, we have more persons in the district, but there are things you can do to keep that situation at bay. So we want to clean up the district. That's head on. We don't need no government to get that done. PPP. That's where that could come in. And the individuals within the district, we have companies within the district who don't mind, because those same persons want to see the district clean. So let's gather once a month, keep our place clean, tidy it up, cut wherever needs to cut. So when the tourist comes through District 7 and by extension District 8, we would have been examples set for the rest of this territory. That is where we are going. But simultaneously, of course, where we're cleaning up the district, we're fixing our sewage and our water, because that's a national issue, basically.
They said some of the same boys that you're referring to would sit on the corner. They could have been pulled into water and sewage as trainees. Do you want to speak to something like that?
Well, the thing about employment, the director of water and sewage department can't just hire people. There's a process that falls under the Department of Human Resources. Once you apply, this information goes to them. They sift through the information, it comes to the department, and at the department's level, the director, the human resources manager, an individual from the Department of Human Resources, the human resources manager at the Ministry of Communications and Works, the manager for the specific area, all sit in an interview as an interview panel, and scores are done there. So it's not the director picking people and putting in position. It doesn't happen like that. Once you come, you interview, you're scored by a panel that includes, yes, the director is there sometimes, depending on what the position is. Because if you have a position like the guys who are in the field, in pipes, etc., I won't be in that interview. You'll find that the manager, which would be the deputy director for engineering, water services, or the deputy engineer for sewage services would be on that interview. So the director isn't in an allows interview. You'll find that I would be more on interviews of the administrative nature, or if there's a senior manager on the technical side, like an engineer or deputy engineer. So I'm hearing the question, and my thing is that we have been for years, because we have many of our workers who can retire now. And if they retire now, you'll find that only 2 or 3 left. So that's where we are. I remember also when we did the walk here by from Beef Island down, we had two persons on that team who we observed, they walked along with the one technical person, and we had interviews at the time. They were doing interviews, etc., and they were successful because they were on the job. So the manager for the area saw that they could work, and they got in, but that's something different. And I knew that question was coming somehow. In a position of authority, why are you helping your people? I don't have all that power to do that. Alrighty, we have a process, and there are procedures, there are policies in place, and once you come in, once you get in, and you do your interview, and the panel agrees that this is how it goes, and this is the person who scored highest, and the manager says, well, I think this is that's who comes forward, and that's who is hired. Yeah, but we did have 1 or 2 individuals from the administrative area who interviewed well. They interviewed well, entry-level positions, and they interviewed well. So, yeah, but those technical positions would be the more technical seniors to do, yeah.
I have one more question for you, Mrs. Scatliffe Leonard. following the 2019 general elections, this territory would have had two administration at the level of governance. I would be happy to hear your assessment of the performance, not asking you to judge or compare, but to give this territory an understanding from your point of view how the country been running since 2019.
Well, part there, it's Cathy. What I would say is that it helps to know and to experience a system in order to function in it. If you do not understand a system, how to function in it, where to go, you'll find that mistakes will be made. Mistakes will be made. Mistakes that probably may have costed us some time that we could have used to fix some stuff before, stuff like Corona. We had time to fix some issues before that. So it comes down back again to priority. And I'm going to go back to this because when you look at the situation, when I look at the situation, persons are fighting basically for my district, not understanding, but your district is part of a territory. And if you have a pressing issue that's costing us more financially or costing the constituents, the people of this territory burdens that they don't need to bear, you need to deal with that situation first. It doesn't matter which district it is. It doesn't matter where it is. Your people's welfare is critical to us to make sure that any policy, any decision that you make does not impact them in such ways so that they cannot care for themselves or families. I will say that piece. Maybe it's, and I'm going to say all of us, I don't know of me, but we're going to say all of us. Maybe we need to, and I've heard a reporter speaking about, the whole issue of training others down. A lot of our public servants who retired, the grooming those below would have been an issue. Same thing I feel about politics. If we are to ensure that the next set of politicians, and I don't like to call myself a politician, I would like to be a servant leader or a leader. And I don't like that politician word for me. Servant leader or leader. But if we are to look at the politicians next, you look at the situation, but who groomed? That whole grooming part of it has not taken place. So you'll find that you're in deeper holes than you expect. That should not be. But I also feel that if you have worked in the government service before and contesting a district to lead a district and this territory, you ought to know and understand where you're coming from to then lead it. It makes sense? I don't know. Yes. You have to understand. It's similar to what I said earlier with me. When I went to water and sewage department, I knew nothing about pipes and leaks and what have you, but then I learned that when you have a pipe the size of a quarter running so much of minutes, this is how much gallons coming out. I had to learn those things. The same way when you get into politics, you have to understand what you're going to in order to make sure you conform to what needs to be for the betterment of this country.
So do I hear you saying that setting of priority has been an issue for this administration?
I think setting up priorities have been a problem with both administrations. And I have no problem with parties. I've been associated with one before. I have no problems with parties. What I do have a problem with is when we are doing things that are not to the betterment of this territory. You know, Cathy, there's so much, and everyone, there's so much you can say today. But I think we would leave some of those things at bay, at rest, but take it, for now. We'll leave that for now. Priorities. We have to make sure that everything that we do is not for me, or for me to look good, but for what makes the territory progress. Every district progresses towards nation building. Everything that we do must go to the bigger picture. That's how we're supposed to be. And that's my goal. And me and a district, whoever the people would choose, we are going to be hand in hand, because when this is all done at the polls, we're going to meet. Because we are going to meet and we're going to call the four at large too. So hear me out, whichever one of y'all come in. We're going to meet and we're going to call the four at large, because those four at large would have gathered votes and X's from the 7th and the 8th district. So they belong to us too. They don't belong to 1 and 2 districts. They belong to the 7th, so we expect them to make their presence known in these 2 districts, and that is where we are going. Okay, and District 7 knows that they're going to be here once Pauline and the ball. That's where we're going. All right, thank you.
Awesome. There's someone else that wants to ask a question. We have to limit our time. We're over the time frame, but would we be able to permit? We can't permit.
We have one shot question.
Sure. You can barely hear you. Can you speak up?
Okay, my simple question, do you have a campaign slogan?
Alrighty, so my part of my able body is going to push it. She says she wants the opportunity to push it, so I'm going to let her push it. Let's go.
Awesome, man. You killed my groove, brother. Anyhow, I listened to our candidate today, and I'm excited. Because today we're pushing P. We're pushing P all the way. We're pushing P. We're pushing programs. We're pushing productivity. We're pushing progress. We're pushing people empowerment. You heard it from her. We're pushing pride, national pride, that is. We're pushing P. We're pushing Perline all the way. That's our campaign slogan. Thank you. You beat me to it. I had my phone right there, excited to push it at you. So
yes, thank you so much, Ms. Potter. They're excited about this slogan. And I'm so excited about the people empowerment one, because you know, from my previous when I was at the Ministry of Communications and works as Human Resources Manager. So you know, my passion for people too grew from there. I was Human Resources Manager there. I had started a employee recognition program there for employees there, because I realized at the time that, you know, the environment was not good. They didn't feel good with the staff and so forth. So I had recommended and we had started an employee recognition program with the Ministry of Communications and Works, which my superiors approved, and they gave me all the money I needed. And that program was so well. The employees enjoyed it. I love people. I love to see people succeed. And even at Water and Sewer Department, if I tell the story, the officer going to laugh when she listens to this. We had just gotten off from the Hurricane Irma, and we have vote books that, you know, that we go to audit and so forth. And she said, Ms. Catliffe, we don't have vote books, etc. I said, but you have a computer, though. She said, yes, but what do you mean by that? I said, go and develop a vote book. Put your lines in, you know what you need. And she came back smiling. And similarly, you know, we had another situation with a young man in the department where you have the sewage and the water on one sheet of the system, but here we are producing two bills, one for sewage and one for water. So I asked the question, so why is the sewage and the water on the same sheet though? Doesn't it seem to you that they need to be on one sheet when you're printing a bill? Oh, we can't do that. I said, you guys are bright, figure it out. They came back Monday laughing, oh, Ms. Scatliffe, we figured it out. I said, I knew you guys could do it. So I like to empower people. Even though I might have the answer, I can test you. And I do what I have to do to push you to the limit. One thing I do not like, and I know the question wasn't asked, and they would say that what, that's with the part with the staff, etc. I came from an environment where time was respected. I came from an environment where you give your time for what you're being paid for. Alrighty? So when persons, you know, enter an environment and you're going to an environment where people are late, they're doing things that are not in accord and accountability, I have an issue with it. So you'll find that I'm a stickler for that. So I wouldn't get too much friends when I start putting on a little feet for time and so forth. But all in all, it's all in love. It's all in keeping with what we need to keep in and to be honest with ourselves. So I'm a stickler with that. Alrighty, so District 7 youths, I'm coming. And when we put you for programs and put you to things that we need to see you doing to make sure you get ahead, we're going to make sure you stick to it, because that's how you would progress. And I would just, Chandel going to kill me, but even my daughter and my son. Chandel, you know, she did her bachelor's degree, and I said, no, you need to go straight to your master's degree. And I pushed her. Well, mommy, I said, no, you need to do it straight. We may not have been friends quite a while after that, but now she is happy she did it. And that's the kind of push the young people should expect from me. I am going to, and excuse me, my elders too, I'm going to be pushing and supporting my seniors as well. Alrighty?
What's that campaign slogan again?
We pushing P. We pushing Perline all the way. Don't worry about an independent candidate. They might be the best candidates that you will ever want to choose this upcoming election, because we need to choose people of character, integrity, and who are willing to produce good governance. There we go. So we want to thank everybody for coming out this morning, all the media persons, and we look forward to a robust campaign. And we're looking forward for the District 7 support. Come on out, support. We're going to be launching soon. You're going to hear more about that. And when we come to the election day, push P. Push P all the way. Thank you very much for coming out.